Hi everyone, welcome back. I actually have a haul today. But I'm laughing because I've gone on a no buy for makeup, but there are things that I have run out of in terms of skincare, so obviously I had to go out and purchase them. I think this is my first haul in 2 months. Is that right? Something like that. And I actually have way more to talk about in this video than I thought I was going to have, just because Sephora took forever to ship things out, which is totally understandable, but I actually gave up on Sephora and then bought some things on, I think it was well.ca, because I was like, well shoot, these moisturizers are never gonna get here. I did order during the Sephora sale, which I can't even remember when it was at this point. Was it March? Was it April? I have no idea. So the first order that I did place in the last month, well wait, if it was in the last month, it had to have been in April that I ordered it? Oh my god, my sense of time is just gone. Isolation does weird things to your concept of time. I think I placed my Sephora order in April and I got it in May, which is not normal because usually that stuff arrives within like 24 to 48 hours. Anyway, one thing that I was unfortunately needing to purchase, and I say unfortunately because of the price point on this sucker, was the Dr. Brandt Microdermabrasion age-defying exfoliator. And this is $105. And I bought this because I've developed another milia on the lower lash line of my lid. And in previous years, I have used samples of this thing to get rid of milia. You just take a little bit of this on a Q-tip and rub it against the milia for 30 seconds, let's say, every day for about a week. And then eventually the milia kind of crystallizes and pops out of your face. I discovered this technique by myself and I blogged about it several years ago, and it has turned out to be like a miracle worker for a lot of people who suffer from milia. But I've since run out of that sample and I was like, guess I have to buy the real thing now, which is super expensive. This is the most expensive skincare product I have ever purchased in my entire life. Probably by double, because I usually cap out around the $40 mark for skincare, sometimes $50, and the fact that this is $105 hurt. So I ordered it during the sale so I could get the, I think it was 15% off at the time. The really annoying part about this is that I had started to try using another scrub that I have at home on the milia to try to remove it, and after 2 weeks nothing was happening, so I broke down and ordered this. But in the time that it took for this to arrive, the milia has since reduced itself. So maybe that other scrub was actually working, and I bought this $105 product for no good reason. The price tag is just shocking to me, okay? Like, I'm suffering over here from having purchased this, and maybe I don't even potentially really need it. Anyway, this sucker does work miracles. I have this in some sort of specialty packaging. I don't really know why, because the original one was sold out completely. It's just one of those really fine granule exfoliators, and because they're so small, they really do get into like the milia sort of area and like scrub down the skin that's on the outside of it. And from there, the way I sort of understand how it worked for me is it broke down or sort of wore down the skin on the outside of the milia so that the milia could then eventually just pop out. I will link to an entire blog post that I did about this down below in the description bar if you want to read more about it, because I don't want to go into too much detail. But this thing really did work absolute wonders for that, and it has worked for a lot of other people who found that post too. So I hate the price tag on this, but I do think it's worth the spend because I know it works for that reason. So anyway, holding on to this until my next milia should pop up. Maybe I'll try it all over my entire face just to see how it feels, but I haven't truly used it on my entire face. I've only used this for milia. And because I was running rapidly out of moisturizer at the time that I placed that order, I decided to get some Sephora Collection moisturizers at the same time because the price tag's actually really good on them. I think they're like, is it 18 bucks or 22, but they seemed really reasonable, and I have previously been sent Sephora Collection moisturizers by PR and I love them. I love them so much, and I told myself that if I ever had the opportunity, I would buy them again once I had run out of moisturizer, and that's this point right now. I've got one nighttime cream that I'm using for my day cream, and that's it. There's nothing more in my cupboard, so I had to buy something. Unfortunately, they've kind of changed their packaging. So I'm not entirely sure if the formula is the same as the ones that I used a few years ago, which I had thought was only 2 years ago, but turns out to be like 4 or 5. So the ones that I grabbed are the Sephora Collection Nourishing Moisturizer, Hydrate and Repair. And that name sounds familiar to the one that I previously used, but I swear these tubs are like smaller than the ones that I had before. Anyway, this is more like a daytime cream. It comes with a seal on it. I haven't popped it open yet just because I haven't completely finished the Nivea one that I'm in the midst of using. But this will probably be the next one that I move on to. And like I said, I did initially really love the Sephora Collection moisturizers from a few years ago, so I anticipate these being relatively similar. The other one I have here is the AHA Fruit Acids Firming Sleeping Cream, Firming and Revitalizing. I kind of interchange using sleeping creams with like daytime use. So, I mean, I'll probably just use this in the daytime regardless. Same type of packaging. You know, they're actually kind of similar looking to me now to like the Drunk Elephant stuff. But yeah, haven't tried either of these. Am eager to though, because I did really like them before. So as I had said at the beginning of this video, Sephora took forever to ship that out, and I was starting to think that I was gonna run out of moisturizer before I got my order, and well.ca finally had products in stock that I was after, so I decided to place an order there. I think I had looked previously in like March and I couldn't find the stuff that I wanted, but this time they had it, so I placed an order, and the Sephora order showed up one day before the well.ca order, and I was like, okay, now I've got a ton of moisturizer. So the things that I picked up from well.ca are 2 items by Aveeno. The first one I grabbed is the Aveeno Positively Radiant Toner, because this is my absolute favorite toner of life. I don't actually really need toner right now, but I need to get to the minimum shipping spend in order to get the moisturizer I'm going to mention in a minute. And I know I will eventually get through to this one. I'm just using a bunch of, I forget that name brand, the witch hazel one that everybody talks about. Why is it escaping my brain? Anyway, I've got like 2 bottles of that one left, and then I'll be moving on to this one. And this has worked wonders for me in the past. I've mentioned this a few times, so pardon me for the repetition, but I years ago was struggling with some sort of like itchiness on the top of my forehead. I didn't have bumps, I didn't have any rash, nothing looked different on my face. It just felt really itchy. And I remember grabbing for the Aveeno toner just to see if it would calm my skin down, and it did. The itchiness that I'd had for weeks suddenly just disappeared within 2 days. So I'm always like heaping tons of praise on this toner because I saw like an almost instantaneous reaction with it when I started using it. So I always, whenever I run out of everything else, I will always go back to this one. And I just really love Aveeno as a brand. It seems to work out really well for my skin. And the last item that I got from Aveeno is their Clear Complexion Daily Moisturizer with Salicylic Acid. Now, I don't have an acne problem. If I get a zit, it's like once a year, maybe. So I'm very fortunate in that respect. But I do buy the Clear Complexion one with salicylic acid because this is the only one that they make without SPF in it. And I can't stand SPF in my moisturizer because I find it very intrusive. Number one, it affects the scent of it, which I don't like. I know some people may not be bothered, but I don't like the scent of sunscreen in my moisturizer. If I'm gonna wear sunscreen, I'm gonna put on some copper tone spray on my face that's like SPF 50. I don't need that nonsense SPF 15. It just isn't enough. So when I'm looking for a moisturizer from Aveeno, I'm always going for the one without SPF, and they're getting increasingly hard to find. All of them lately have SPF in them, and the only one that doesn't is this one with salicylic acid. So I guess this is keeping any potential zits that I would have at bay, but I really just stick strictly to this one because it does not have SPF in it. I've said SPF so many times, it's starting to lose all meaning to me. Anyway, I have gone through, I couldn't even tell you how many bottles of this moisturizer over the years. When I first moved to Toronto, the change in air when I came here compared to Ottawa was just so dry. I'd never used a moisturizer in my life. I was moving into first year university on campus, and I was talking to my mom and I'm like, my face feels dry. It just feels like a desert. It feels like it's gonna crack. And she picked up the Aveeno moisturizer. I don't remember which one it was back in the day. I feel like it was one of those Positively Radiant ones, but those now have SPF in them. And from there on in, I was just like absolutely in love with Aveeno, and it's been like almost 20 years now, and I'm still using this stuff. I use a lot of other moisturizers too because I do like to branch out and try new things all the time, but again, I always come back to Aveeno because I know that this stuff will work for me. And again, the clear complexion one slash the ones without SPF in it are getting harder and harder to find. I actually thought Canada as a country was no longer carrying the non-SPF one anymore, because it was so difficult to find. Shoppers didn't have it at the time, Well didn't have it at the time, and then I feel like maybe it got restocked in a huge shipment because then it popped back up on all these websites and I was like, oh, give it to me, give it to me. So that's it for this month. I've only bought skincare. I haven't picked up any makeup in a solid 2 months. But now I've got moisturizer for days. Like this is gonna last me maybe till the end of the year. Yeah, potentially those 3 moisturizers could take me through into 2021. So I'm plenty stocked up. So that's gonna be it for this haul. Bit of a brief one, only skincare, doesn't feel very typical for me. But that's it, that's all I bought in the last month. I hope you found this video interesting. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye.